Yeah. Mm. Mm. So I just wanted us to discuss about these few things when trying to adopt AI, specifically in business, not on the consumer side. So we have the part of data infrastructure, talent and expertise, but also the business objectives. So what are the, why is it important to look on those three aspects? So just an open conversation. We uh, can have a discussion on how these three things are important, but also we can add other things which are here, which we think are important to consider when trying to adopt AI in this specific. So usually organization has the necessary data management capabilities to support AI initiatives. So why that is very important. What I think that is important is to this. Hello, can you hear us right? Hello?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
So
Yes.
it's an open conversation on the strategies to adopt AI, specifically in a specific business case. So there are the three things which I have highlighted here. We can discuss about them, but also we can add some of the things which we think are more important and have not been highlighted there. Yeah. Any thought? Mhm.
Yes. Hello?
Hello, hello. Yes.
Yes. So on my side, I
Sorry,
think we
sorry.
have to enhance
Okay, okay. Can you
we
repeat?
have to we have to enhance the capacity building, especially in our learning institutions. especially on the issue of data management, data manipulations, and how can we integrate the AIs and various applications in various fields. That will be very important on strengthening and continue building capability to our people. Yes.
Oh, so that's that was on the part of talent and expertise, right?
Yes.
And what do you think about data and its role in deploying AI applications?
Can you come again? What did you say?
Yeah, so you want to adopt AI in a specific case, let's say a certain business case,
Yes.
and I wanted to hear your perception on the importance of data and how can it limit one deploying or using AI in his or her specific business case.
Okay. On my side also, I think, as I said earlier, in the capacity building, actually, we have to train also the people on how to collect the data which can be used in AI aspect. What are the relevant informations which are normally required, and how can we capture it effectively from the field so as it can be used or manipulated for the future use? I think so.
Okay, okay, thank you so much, Gilbert. Anyone from the remote part? Susa, we haven't heard from you. Hello? Yeah, so here, welcome, Mgasa. Would you mind coming here so that they can hear you? Um,
So am I audible?
Because quantum intelligence deals with that specific case.
Yeah, so am I audible? So actually, I was supposed to talk on the first day, and unfortunately I wasn't here because I was in a TIC event at the NICC. And my talk was around the AI and its dimension, particularly the application and its impact. So I'm a very good actively fan of our AI ecosystem, and I always try to think, what can we do so that we can grow our ecosystem, being like what others have been achieved. And in doing so, one of the ecosystem that truly inspires me is China, because I always talk with people, and when we try to reflect this, back in 1999, China was also in the dark when it comes to discussing these issues with AI and all of that. But in less than 25 years, they have been moved very fast in a way that currently US even fears them. So I was reading a book called AI Superpowers, written by Kai-Fu Lee, who was the previous Google AI researcher. And then he's the Chinese, currently he's the CEO of Sinoventures, a certain venture in China. He shares his thoughts on how did China moves very fast during those time. One of the few things that he mentions was the issues of data, the talent and the workforce that can be used to accelerate that development, the funding, maybe the infrastructure and all of that. So I would be interested to speak about the talent, maybe. How can we increase the number of the talent, and maybe what others have been doing to navigate this space? Because when we look in our ecosystem, we have a lot of talks. We are talking always, but to make it productive, we have to build solutions. And these solutions have to be done by the people, from the data scientists, AI engineers, and all of that. So talent is one of the very crucial and important things that has to be done. So in doing so, I always think about if China has do that kind of things and they achieved it in less than 25 years, can we copy them, what they did actually, can we adopt it here? Those are a few things that have been, maybe we can analyze and see how they can be done. So talent, this comes in different ways. There's the people who are like the elite researchers, those who are doing the core research of building those AI systems. And there's the only people who they can just take the open source models or the existing solution, they can modify it and localize for the local use. So based on what has been shared, to access our organization leadness or maybe the ecosystem leadness, the talent and expertise, for me as a suggestions, the most important thing that we need is just the large number of AI engineers, just people who they can just build the end products. That's going to be very important. We don't need a lot of elite researchers to do those, like the core research and all of that. We can just have them few, but we can focus to build the large number of people's, just the engineers who can take the open source models and just modify them to localize the product. That is one of the area, speaking to talent, that we can focus on. The other thing is entrepreneurs. This can also be one of the resources which can help us, our ecosystem, to grow very fast. Because again, to make this conversation productive or to make this like this AI solution productive, we have to build businesses on top of them. So there's the need, but again, to find a way to have the talent and expertise for the peoples who can build the business on top of AI solutions. That can also be productive. So I won't have a lot of things maybe to say here, but if I get the other points, I will add on that. If there's anyone who can have maybe questions or the adds on that. Is there anyone who have any question maybe? I think to me, I'm done on that point.
The part of the business objective, can we share that?
Okay. People are quiet. I will ask direct questions. Lozi, what do you think? What should we do to increase the talent or to fill the talent gap? What should we do? We just need people who can build those solutions. What should we do?
Yeah, of course, yeah, because I always like have a sense. Now we have a lot of people speak about AI, but when it comes to building, people who are like very talented, still that few. So you just, when you go places, they're just talking like, oh, there's AI, we know there's AI, but we can't change that if we don't build like people like who have skills to use AI and to build solutions which matter to us. And we know like we have a big group of youth in our country, and if we don't give them these skills, this circle like will be like a vicious cycle, like it will keep like proceeding, because these people will grow, like other people will be like more far. So currently I can say, yeah, when it comes to Africa, we are like, yeah, we don't have a lot of talent, especially in technology and maybe STEM in general. So it's very important, and we are the youngest continent, like in the world. Yeah. So if 50 years to come, maybe we have a world with people who don't have skills like that. It might happen. Yeah, don't know, but it's very important if we are the youngest to have people who have skills and talent, because at the end of the day, other people will build solutions for us, because even the large population will be in Africa. So other people will be building solutions for us. And if other people are building solutions for us, they won't consider like the unique challenges which we are facing, because if somebody's in the US, there are some things they might miss which are very essential, even when it comes to today we have spoken about people have their values, their norms, their culture, but even in challenge, we have the challenges which they only face us as a region, but also as people of a certain area. And no one else will know about that if we are not like the one who are like building those solutions. So, and I know currently there are like there are initiatives which are happening to at least, but we still need more of this, like a vibrant ecosystem. Not only maybe what Saruf is that is doing with generative AI, we really need like more communities, like people come, like learn skills, and it should be like country-wise, like we wish to see these things are happening not only maybe in that, but also in Arusha, maybe in Kilimanjaro, in the southern part of the country, in the western part of the country, because I believe there are like a large group of people which are left out there. And I know people will say like, but you can learn online. Yes, we can learn online, but do we really have courses which are tailored to what most of people understand? Like when it comes to language, because I know also language can be a barrier for other people to learn. And I know some people here might say like, I can speak English, but when you take even English speakers in our country, most of us, when we hear something in English, we have to translate on a normal setup, like making some Swahili to understand, then to understand, like it's a process. For most of people are not competent, like when they hear something in English, just to directly like interpret it and understand its context. So it means even like when it comes to learning, sometimes maybe language can be a barrier based on a lot of content is in English, and maybe some of the contents are complex for it, especially for other people who are beginners. So having community is also like a way forward, like to simply the learning curve, because if you can meet with people who like really have knowledge, maybe you can ask and they can assist you, maybe if you are doing a project, so it becomes easier for people. But I know like maybe if like there's a much support like for ecosystem, because sometimes you find youth, they are just organize themselves like to do this kind of thing. Maybe sometimes they have limited resources to go further. So if we have like other people, individual like who are like they play, because when it comes to the government also has a duty, because it's mandatory for them to impact skills to use. That is mandatory. It's one of these duties. They have to put a framework or like an investment or like a vision to do so. When it comes to companies, like someone today spoke about corporate social responsibility. Yes, of course. I always like ask myself, why like a tech company you're just going like maybe to do a training of about, I don't know, road safety. It's important, but basing on a big corporate company like that is level, I think they have to be innovative and to look what is missing, especially in the area which they are working on, and to make that as a corporate social responsibility. So it's a duty like of everyone to make sure people access this kind of skills and to have this talent and expertise in the country. And also for people who know, they should not try to make other people who don't know like they can't fit in, because also they are that like, oh, people think like, okay, maybe we like maybe this person cannot be like into tech because maybe this person is like from this background. But I always say like tech is like a tool and anyone can play with it if you are just like passionate about learning and if you get necessary support. Because at the end of the day, with technology, the beauty, we just need few tools to have access maybe to internet, to computer, and start learning. But different from other fields, like if you want to be maybe a doctor, you have to have access to hospital, to go there, to attend the rotation, which is very hard, not everyone can get into, because there are few hospitals. When you want to do other things, you have to be on site. But with technology, I think everyone has opportunity to come in and to offer his or her expertise. And the challenge now we are facing, maybe having maybe tech people working in silo, you might find maybe you are solving now solutions, but maybe they're not fitting in business side. Maybe you are developing a tool, maybe when it comes to business, nobody wants it, because you can code, yes, you can train a model, but you have done something maybe it's not like a pain point to the community or to the business side. So you might end up like maybe developing solutions, using a lot of resources, because I know training models, you're using money, you're putting your money. So at the end of the day, you get tired and you see like, oh, this technology doesn't help me, maybe. Like I'm good, maybe a person, but I'm not getting maybe a return of what the investment I'm doing. I'm doing maybe because you are working yourself as a tech person, you're not involving maybe the business, like knowing what kind of solution they really need, or maybe the community, you have left the community, and then the community will find people of different, like maybe fields who have different, like maybe problems which you can maybe tap in and offer solutions. So I think it's like it's a complex, I can say, like
Yeah.
like breadness, like
Yeah.
actually it's kind of complex because it involves like a lot of like multiple stakeholders in it, because it's technology. At the end of the day, we have users, we have people who are building the technology, but then at the end of the day, we have like people who are supporting maybe in terms of infrastructure. But yeah, so it's like something which is like bigger, but maybe that's what I can say and I can share on my perspective.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe let's congratulate her for the great point that she made. So, to add on that, we know the problem is lack of, we have a talent gap problems, people, they don't have skills. The other question, who can help us to solve this? Is it the government or the private sector, or should we like find someone from outside or whatever? Some of the ecosystem that they have tried to solve the issues of skills in their countries, and so far, we have the example of, in general, in software skills and all of that, in Nigeria, for example. It's one of the ecosystems that they have a lot of developers and all that. One of the peoples that I think they made it possible, there's the companies of like Andela. So we're thinking, can we do the same thing like what Andela has done to Nigeria for the AI in the likes of our country? You build a startup, there's something like Andela, you empower people with the skills and all of that, but for AI in the likes of our country. Maybe Caleb, can you do that?
Yes, hello.
Yes. There's someone who wants
Yes, I would like to top up
Yes.
where the last speaker ended.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, for us, AI is community, because I can see that there is a gap between the level of awareness, especially to our people. We have to raise the awareness to the people, to our community, so that they can understand and explore the opportunity which the AI offer. For instance, for us researchers, based on this training which I have attended, this conference which I have attended since yesterday and today, I have already opened my mind that there are some very potential opportunities which we can explore by using the AI. So my point is, the AI developers or the engineers for AI and the AI's community in general, we have to raise awareness to our people to know what potential exists in the AI platform and how they can use it appropriately for their daily activity. I think that is very important, because we are still lagging behind as a country in the aspect of using the AI in the appropriate manner. So we have to raise the awareness so that people they can understand what potential exists in the AI platforms. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Coming back to Caleb, Andela made it possible in Nigeria to build the largest workforce of developers, the software developers. Can you do the same for our country, specifically for AI? Can we replicate the something of Andela for our country? Okay.
That's what they really say absolute people, and then when they find people, they hire them. I think some point, I check the training. Like training, like what some point, I think there's a guy today. By some point, like applying for a beach, okay, like 3 years ago. And 3 years old, what about the already know? And they can do those programs like, okay, what the head rate for working with those. So like, say, give me a resource for you to do that, basically, it is a lot of work. So can you do that? And the same way, like say, you're doing your mail, and then your community. It's a problem. Like I think it's, but you know, I think it's gonna be the more you give, like say, okay, it's government telling me things will never happen again. It's basically the movement is starts from ground up. And I think that the right? That's what we've been doing, and we've tried to meet to get like so community, also universities and finance which are I think won't change things overnight, right? And I don't think one person alone can change this or can create talents, right? It's like a community. That's a very good. You can start together. I think like maybe when we met, someone might know they might support father. So you can waiting for government.
Wanajuzi wote
What should we do? Them like training. They they come and they do upskill your team, you know, with AA stuff, and that way, that's how things come. But then the moment you put it in how something external that you're out of control, I think it's a way of saying this will never happen. You never reach the end. But everyone that wants to do something to it. And they need it, you know.
Yeah. Anyone else? How can we upskill people? Yes, sir. Who can help us to solve this?
I can start lecturing. We have 20 minutes. Okay, give me some markers. Let me start drawing. Okay, so we've been in this space for some time, since about 2019. And are there any markers here? Okay, let's check if there's some markers. So we've been in this space since about 2019. We've worked on awareness, advocacy, training, policy, product development, all of this.
Okay.
You know, Andela used to be in Tanzania.
Okay.
Andela used to have an office here. They shut it down. Forget about the Tanzanian AI ecosystem, lack of skill devs.
Okay.
Our software devs suck. Like, how many of you here are developers? Okay. How many of you have worked with fellow developers and been like, is this guy really a developer? That is the reality of our dev ecosystem, let alone our AI ecosystem. Andela was focusing on dev, and then they expanded their program to work with Google for cloud and for AI. They used to have a scholarship program, Google Africa something, with Andela. I know, because I tried to take part in it, so the days I still wanted to be a technical person. They gave up on the Tanzanian market. They exited. There are a few issues. We can try and offer the best training programs possible. But if people don't want to learn, they don't have the interest, there's nothing we can do. There's that saying, you can guide a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. There are amazing programs that have happened in the country, formal and informal. But getting our people to be interested in it is a different problem. And it's not fully their fault. AI sounds sexy. It sounds awesome. Until you have to start dealing with Bayesian statistics or start dealing with CSV files of thousands of features and rows. Then it's not as fun anymore. So a lot of people will start the AI training program. The moment they reach technical, they're gone. Even with events like this, how many people were in this room when we started on Thursday? More of this room was full, right? How many are we here today? Yes, we know work comes up, people get busy, all of that. Yes. But this happens consistently every time. We've been doing the Indaba X since 2021. 2021, 2022, 23, we partnered with EMI. 24, we partnered with EMI. We might have done, no, 2020 was COVID. We didn't do any then. And before that, Indaba X was happening as well, being organized by UDOM and Emai in 2019 and 2018. Every year consistently, this is what happens. They come in, first day, everyone's wah, wah. You have your panel discussions. Okay, let's get to the technical training. And things start dropping off. So while there is a need for quality training, there is also a need for what I like to call hunger from the people. We are here because we are hungry to learn, because we are willing to spend the time to learn. A demography like Nigeria or Kenya, more people are hungry because there is more competition and there is more opportunity. Why is Microsoft and Visa and Google and IBM and all of them having their offices in Kenya? Because they saw that there's a vibrant ecosystem. Not because the Kenyans are necessarily good. I'm sorry if there are any Kenyans listening. But because they showcase their work really well. How many of us here have projects you're working on that you haven't posted on social media about at all? I'm pretty sure all of us have at least one project which would be really cool to talk about, but we don't want to talk about. Why? Or someone will copy us. Or intellectual property. Or someone will take my idea. Ideas aren't worth shit until you've deployed it. Everyone has an idea. There are no unique ideas anymore. But we sit with our projects, we will start them, and then they sit in our library forever. They never see the light of day. So when it comes to the talent problem, there are multiple issues. First, the hunger of an individual to learn. Because if someone wants to learn, the resources are there. People have started building Python equivalents in Swahili. There's Python in Swahili for people who really want to get into that and feel language is an issue. There are textbooks that are being translated. There are comic books in Swahili around AI. Yes, the awareness of this is still being built, but these resources are there for anyone who wants to spend the time to Google it. So there's the hunger side of things. The second issue is mentorship. We do need more mentorship. We need people who are being willing to say that I've been in this space for 3 to 5 years. I know I'm not an expert, but I know I can help someone get started. And if someone comes and says, hey, I want to get started in AI, I'm willing to tell them, here's a good place to start. But on the flip side, someone who is being mentored should not come and say, so where do I start? Like you want everything to be spoon-fed and be given an entire curriculum and say, day 1 do this, day 2 do this, day 3. We don't have time for that. A lot of us here are either shuffling multiple 2 or 3 or 4 jobs at the same time. Rose, how many initiatives are you involved in right now? Off your head, at least 4? Somewhere there?
Maybe, I don't know, 2, 3.
So if a young girl comes to you and says, I need mentorship, but then she wants you to tell her every day what to do you have the time for that? Maybe you'll have the time for 1 girl or 1 boy. Will you have the time for 10? It's not realistic. Because the reality is we're all doing multiple things. Kalebu is running a business there that has how many? You have a service offering. You have at least 2 different products. You're usually involved in multiple speaking events. We have the PMI one next week, which I've dragged you into. Freddie awesome dev. He's doing full stack. He's doing AI. He has a full-time job. He's doing consulting. Ngasa, where did he disappear? Oh, here. This guy is involved. So the moment we're in this space, we have so much going on. So when someone comes to me with a request for mentorship or for that, and then they're asking me the basic questions, and I'm like, have you even tried to Google this question? Or these days, ChatGPT this question. And it's like, I'm not here to handhold you. A mentor, you meet them once a week to say, I have accomplished this. I have faced this challenge. How can I go forward? That is mentorship. You go to them when you have a specific challenge and someone who helps you stay accountable. How many people do we have that are looking for that type of mentorship? Instead, most of the questions I get are, what's the best model to use for classifying this problem? That's the questions I'm getting. So awareness, the hunger. We need mentors who can give time, yes, but we also need to build a mentorship culture. I think courses, there are amazing courses out there. The language thing is a valid issue. We need more localized language courses and things. Maybe the opportunity there is the language models that are coming out that allow better machine translation. Maybe that's a possibility. I don't know. I haven't explored that enough. But the biggest issue I've seen are these three, especially from the hunger side of things. Our people aren't hungry. The opportunities that I've seen, some of you might know, UNESCO just announced that they're about to do an AI readiness assessment for Tanzania. They're going to map Tanzania's AI readiness. They're going to look at labor and skill and all of that. You know what one of their metrics, I've gone through the assessment methodologies, open source, it's available if you want to read it. You know what one of the metrics they're measuring is? How many Kaggle grandmasters do we have in the country? How many of us here use Kaggle? Or Zindi, for that matter? How many of us know a Tanzanian who has ranked in the top 20 of Zindi, not even Kaggle, of Zindi globally? Top 20. Do we know anyone? I would love to meet them if we do have people though, honestly. But how many of us actually use Zindi beyond Indaba X or EMAI hackathons? Are just like, Zindi, they're offering you money to do data science. And then we complain there's no money in it either, so we leave AI. Yes, it's not easy. It takes hard work. But these opportunities are there. So when those questions come up and it's like, forget Zindi, Kaggle, Grandmasters, which is considered a very high level achievement. How many do we have? It's a free platform. They offer courses inside Kaggle on how to get started with AI. They offer free data sets. You can go look at previous challenges. They do webinars, they do courses, they have tutorials. What is lacking? We need to create more awareness and show people that there is opportunity in this space. And I'm not even touching the side of doing AI as a business yet. Like doing it as a business is an added layer of complexity. Kalebu, if you're comfortable talking about it, when you started Neurotech and Sarufi as a company, and you were also doing AI at the same time, how stressed were you? How much did you know about running a company?
Zero.
You were just coming out of university and all of that. And that's the reality of most of our founders. Our startup founders are starting AI for the first time and are starting to run a business for the first time. Two big unknowns that they're facing at the same time. And running a business is shitty. I don't know why anyone would choose to do that to themselves. I say that as someone who is doing that to themselves. It's not an easy or fun process. It has its moments. The freedom is beautiful. It is empowering. You can create big change without being limited by people. But the stress and anxiety and the unknown will keep you up at night. But then at the same time, we have to figure out this new technical market where we're still building our skill set, where we're still building our portfolio and our platform. And if you look at most AI businesses in Tanzania, most of them are either providing pure AI services like Sarufi, or they've identified a use case that's somewhere in between, like Gala. Gala isn't fully AI. It is mostly logic for now, from what I've seen how it works. Datalize, they are leveraging existing technologies and building on top of them. Is a pure AI offering. But the true use cases that have been generating exponential revenue are within other businesses. You don't create a standalone AI solution. You create a component within an existing product. Like Tausi. Tausi used to do consulting for data scoring. And then they realized that enough MNOs have this problem of credit scoring for providing loans that they could create a product, and instead of consulting, they just provide the product. And that's what they've done. Now they've integrated with a credit reference bureau. And in the finance world, that's big because that means you have data of all the banks. It took them like 3, 4, maybe 5 years to get to that level. But the revenue that they will be generating when everything switches on is insane numbers. Someone like Daum Kononi, they're exploring AI offerings. They've started working with Kalebu guys. They're building AI as part of an overall product offering. Very few local companies are ready to buy AI as AI. So when it comes to talent, we have a lot of areas that need work. And like Kalebu and Gasa have been saying, it's not a one-man show. None of us on our own will be able to fix this problem. We will need to work with each other in our own bubbles, working to support whoever is there. There's going to be a program coming up soon. I think, Rose, you've already been invited for the meeting next week with JZ regarding the Women in AI thing. There are going to be initiatives like that coming up. There are technical conferences. Next year, Deep Learning in Daba is in Rwanda. This year, Deep Learning in Daba had maybe 15, maximum 20 Tanzanians out of 600 people. This year is in Rwanda. This year was in Senegal. So yes, it's a bit far to get to. Next year is Rwanda. We better have a good amount of people there. But the Deep Learning in Daba is a technical conference. It is not lightweight. It is proper technical. You apply to get in, it is invite only. So we need to showcase what we have. Okay, I've been ranting for quite some time. Yes, go ahead.
So with Alex, please look at the guys who went to Java. It spoke something, okay, there's the other Java communities, I think people who have 3 classes to go to the main community. So how about a lot of things? We need like low or something like globally like in Java, the main conference to the people who go there and give them a free pass.
There are free passes. You just have to apply to the conference.
Yeah, but now there's 12 passes, right? Because there's one which you apply for from Java themselves, right?
Yes.
There's one which the community says, okay, we pass through the Java X community, the Java X and the
So that usually happens if the Indaba is being organized in your country or in that region. But otherwise, typically it is you have to apply directly.
Maybe I'll check out Alex, but say coming from multiple Java X and people with free classes. from the Indaba into the country.
Yeah, typically they still have to go through application
Yeah.
unless they were nominated by the local Indaba X team. But typically we are limited to one nomination for full sponsorship. And usually that is a poster presenter winner. Because the deep learning Indaba is still has very academic roots. So they want poster presenters. So someone with research, it doesn't have to be academic research, it can be industry-based research, but they want a paper and a poster to be presented.
Full up.
Yeah, and I can always check because I am an organizer of Indaba X, so we have direct contact to the deep learning Indaba team as well. And again, with this year being in Rwanda, we need more representation. Next year, sorry. The next one, like that. Year's already over. But anyway, so I think I've exhausted the 20 minutes.
Maybe we can. Do we have any few minutes extra? We didn't speak anything about data infrastructure.
So, does anyone disagree with me?
Like a question. Yeah, especially like when you say hunger.
Yeah.
Like, okay, but what's in the real root of people not being hungry, like in Tanzania? Because okay, what I can see, because okay, when you go to Kenya, when you meet Nigerians, it starts like from the roots of the culture. Because when you look how Tanzanians are raised,
You've already answered the question.
yeah, yeah. How are raised, like people are raised to be conservative. You should not ask questions. You should like there is a leader, you should not challenge your leader. You should be like when you're in a room, if you are the quiet, you are the polite one, which is not true at some point. But for Kenyans and Nigerians, they are raised like you have to be out there, you have to be loud. But also another thing, for them, like how they adopted capitalism. So there's nothing like socialism. So for socialists, it's like I can get help anywhere. Or ESA is there. What is the best model? Like we are socialists, like we always think anyone can help anytime. So do you think basing on this kind, it's like something from the cultural roots, like how can we break this now? So that because when you look the ecosystem, even people who have managed to be hungry to learn, you can see they started somewhere. Like maybe when they are young, they were exposed. So how can we make sure like now we are raising youth who are hungry like to learn, who are like going to finding information, like something like that?
Yeah. I think with culture, it's always going to be a fight. It's always going to be a journey because it takes that individual to realize that I'm ready to fight with my parents to tell them that this startup is a job, not I have to go work for CIDB or Vodacom. And I still have that fight with my mother till today. I grew up in Arusha. I studied at UDSM. I have not gone to study internationally. Everything I learned has been learning here. So as much as people will look at me and listen to me and be like, this person is exposed, international cyber. Primary, secondary, Arusha. University here. Masters, I never want to do. But it's always a fight. Till today, I fight with my mother. She's like, so when are you getting a job? I'm like, I have a job.
The real job.
Yeah. She's like, what about health insurance? I bought my own health insurance. Next. What about
Pension.
I tell her in the last 2 months, I've earned more than my job paid me in a year. Next. She'll still be like, oh, stability. I'm like, what kids or wife do I have that I need stability? And it will always be an ongoing conversation. It will always be that fight. It's tough. And I don't think there is a direct answer to it. It is each of us recognizing that it is a fight worth having. And of course, finding ways to do it very politely, very diplomatically, and understanding that our parents and our community may never see it the same way. They may always have different feelings. I spent some time working for the United Nations. Not a long time, like 1 year. Until today, for my mom, that was her proudest moment. For me, that was oh, by the way, I'm just here because I wanted to do something different. In and out. For her, oh, that was her proudest moment. She would tell everyone, my son is in the UN. I'm like, no. Tell them how I got there, not that I am there, because I'm about to leave as well. So they'll never see it the same way. They may never. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. And that's where communities like this help, where we can talk to each other and understand the struggles we are facing. But the reality is being more vocal and asking for what we want takes getting used to. It is uncomfortable when we're not used to it. It is uncomfortable. But sometimes when we don't ask, we never know what opportunities were there in the first place. I've started telling people when they mention something that I want that opportunity. Whatever you're talking about, don't look for someone else. I am here to do it. At the beginning, that was weird to say because it feels a little narcissistic. Like, oh, I'm a big person. Who am I to say that? But that's the reality of getting certain opportunities. Being able to say and ask for what you think you deserve. And that also goes for salaries. Hey, do not let people undervalue you here. The local companies will undervalue talent like nobody's business. And then when you start working with international people, you realize just how much they can value you. I've done meetings and workshops with people where I haven't asked for anything. I was just like, that sounds cool. So a lot of workshops and trainings we do, we never ask for any money or anything like that. You ask Deloitte or someone like that to do a workshop for you, see how much they come with a bill. But you'll go to a lot of these partners and they're like, oh, come do an AI workshop for us or something. And then they either the amounts they offer you is like minimal or they don't offer at all. And then there's a flip side to that. There are people who I've done trainings for. They liked it so much that they came back and said, no, we want to pay you. You're not allowed to say no. Because there is value that is understood. And that value isn't communicated here. So it takes that realization and that willingness to be upfront about it. Yes, at the beginning, you're building your brand, you're building your portfolio. But at some point, we need to realize when does the building end of that brand and visibility? And you have built enough credibility that you can say, this is my value. Of course, in nice ways, like, thank you. I appreciate what you've come to me with. But at this point in time, this is how much I work for. If this doesn't work for you, I'm happy to refer you to someone else who fits your budget. Plus, being selective about these kinds of things and only being able to stand up for it and ask for it is the only way we'll get there. And when in doubt, you reach out to someone from the community who has experience. You're like, someone's approached me with this. What do I say? I've had people come to me and I told them, no, these people want value from you without paying you. Tell them this is your value. And then see how they come back. Maybe they won't come back. But that's okay because you are about to give yourself a headache doing work for someone else for free. And you're not getting anything out of it. Why? Ask your value, no matter what the situation.
Like
They should have come here.
So he advised like if Tanzania can send some the voice to us, either communicate to the commission, tell them maybe during this process, can we help you? People want to learn like technical and so I think so, so what do you think about that? Is that possible or what you do?
Anyways, you're my brand manager. Should I be diplomatic or should I say dangerous things?
Dangerous things.
Dangerous, you don't
I
know.
think we want to have.
Dangerous.
I have to follow my brand manager's guideline. You'll get what I'm trying to say though. So there are two types of conferences and events. There's the kind that is in place for engaging a certain type of audience. And type, if you see the way it's advertised, the way it's branded, how much it costs to attend, it's not cheap. You can tell they're targeting a certain type of person to attend our conference. And we've been exploring with them, how can we do more to provide more capacity and skill and things like that. And they've been trying like the robotics workshop they did, but it was a small portion. But largely type has always been about telling the stories. It's always been about bringing the politicians and the startups and not even the startups as much, the companies and the donors and telling the stories, especially so that they can find more ways to work together. There's that type of conference. And there is a fatigue happening between the donors and the partners and everyone that, especially after this type, ask anyone that's attended type what they thought about it. And a lot of them agree that it was a lot of talking, there's a lot of panels, there was a lot of stories. But then there's the second type of conference, which is what we're doing here today. And this type of conference is focused on skills, it's focused on capacity, it's focused on how do we become better practitioners. And for what it's worth, if you're running an AI business, you should not be here for the business side. You should be here for the AI side. Because sometimes in business, you'll see that maybe you should dial down the AI a bit, focus a bit more on the business, and then later you can adjust it. But there's this second type of event and conference that's a lot more technical. And while I was at TIC, I was telling people, oh, you're tired of the talking? Go down the road to the National Museum. There's a much more technical session that's going on. And we'll share the pictures and all of this with some of the news presenters, Daniel Kiyo. He's very interested. He was trying to figure out a news story for TIC and all of that. And I'm like, there's something more interesting down the road. He wasn't able to make it, unfortunately, but we'll send him the stuff. Okay? Stefania, we need to send him the stuff quickly. Okay? And then he'll probably want to come down to the office and do an interview or something like that. So this second type of conference, which is the ethos of the deep learning Indaba. When you guys go to the deep learning Indaba, and you better make sure everyone here applies to go to the deep learning Indaba, we are going to send out a huge mailing list application to everyone who registered for EMI and for the Indaba X to apply. And you all better apply, or I will come find you wherever you're hiding. Okay? I know most of you. I will find you. Okay? Because the Indaba is too technical for me. And for those of you who know me, I'm mostly just talking as well. But I know enough. It is too technical for me. You have presenters from Microsoft, from OpenAI, from Google DeepMind, who are presenting technical things. How do transformers actually work? How do language models work under the hood? How do CNNs and all these new methodologies, how do they actually work? If you ever look at the agenda for the deep learning endeavor, I've gone through it and I've been like, I don't even know what this title means. How do I register for this? I don't know what it means. That is the second class of context, which you will rarely hear our politicians talk about because it doesn't tell as nice of a story. So now it is a question of how do we encourage more of our colleagues and friends who want to get technical to come to technical meetings and events. And there are so many of them that are happening. Yesterday evening, how many people know there was a cybersecurity meetup at Smart Lab? A few? How many of you were able to attend? There's a lot going on. I know, even I didn't make it. One of the guys on that panel, two of them, one's a Tanzanian who is really skilled, masters in cybersecurity, everything, Karim Chata. Some of you know it. The other guy from the US, Sam something. He is so knowledgeable and technical. The number of people in this country who would be able to have a conversation at his level, I don't think we'd have more than 10. I don't know anything about the cybersecurity community, but he's a proper hardcore researcher. There is this value that is now sitting in the country, and the US Embassy, along with other partners, will be having a number of sessions happening. I think on the 22nd of October, there's going to be a cybersec session happening at the American Quarter upstairs. I agree, it's the 22nd, right? Yes. There's going to talk about healthcare data. There's going to be another one with the US Embassy again sometime later. I don't remember when. So there's a lot of these technical conferences and events. The Gen AI meetups that happen every month. How do we get more people to come to participate and to get involved with all of these? Because while we will try to advocate to have a few more technical sessions at TAIC, there will always be a limit because TAIC will only give us like one slot. That one slot will be 2.5 hours over a 5-day conference. If they're willing to, but they're the organizers. So we'll try, we'll advocate for it. But at the end of the day, we shouldn't rely on them. We can propose it to them and say, this is what we'd like to do. Whether they agree or not, we don't know. But what we can control is having our own stuff that is different. Zephania and I had many discussions about the fact that this is happening immediately the same time as TAIC. But at the end, we agreed that the type of people who are attending TAIC and who are attending this will be very different types of people. People who know TAIC know that it's about the stories, that it's about telling of what's happened and what will happen. Yeah. And now it is going to be telling the story in TAIC that, by the way, do you know there's something more technical happening next week? Or every year on this date, expect this thing. So we'll advocate for it. We'll work with everyone. Maybe I was even thinking one of the Gen AI meetups should have had some branding as a joint event kind of thing, like a warm up or a cool down or whatever. I think there's Hacktoberfest coming up. Has Alex started advertising it yet?
So there's a mini event down this week. But the also one thing is that we like to do like face in the air.
Yes. So there's another technical event coming up called Hacktoberfest. We need to send more marketing out about this stuff, but yes. So summary, we'll advocate for it, we'll try and do it, but in the meantime, we amplify the great work that everyone's already doing.
We still have time.
Zephaniah, is food ready? We're waiting for food.
Maybe the other question. What I think to create the hungriness, we can start maybe whether it's from universities or from secondary level, whatever. Because from my experience, I see some of the people who are doing this AI stuff or in the innovation space and all that, or in entrepreneurship, are some of the people who have been doing these few things from the start while they are in secondary, they grew up in university and all that. I know of Kalebu, I've been in Young Scientist in those days. I've been also in Young Scientist, Wagen Young Scientist, Rosie, she was in Young Scientist. So there's this certain kind of generation of people who have been raised from the ground up, from the secondary schools. We've been moving from there up to now, so we're thinking about building the companies, building this AI innovation and all that. Can we do this in the large way, maybe for AI, starting from those under levels? From the secondary, maybe we're finding 100 talented or innovative students. We raise them up to university level and all that. So that out of 100, we can find out like 20 who do like the full companies and all that.
We can, we should, but let's start with one.
Okay. What?
One school.
One school.
We should do it at scale. We should do it big. But if we plan to start with 100, the first question that's going to come is, so who's funding us now to do this? Do we have enough people to mentor and to guide 100 schools? Do we have enough time to give for 100 schools? So let's start with one school. It doesn't have to be 100 to start. It just needs to be one.
And maybe it might not be, we can also partner with those who have been already doing it.
For sure.
Speaking like Project Inspire, Young Scientist and all that.
Let's start with one.
Okay.
For now, we shouldn't complicate things. We start with Kawan. That one will grow into 2, which will grow into 5, which will grow into 10 or 20. And it'll grow organically because the value will be seen. Us as the Tanzania AI community, we started with Kawan meetup that 20 people showed up in. This was 2019. Kalebu hair was a lot shorter. We started with Kawan meetup. We did a Kanada. We did a movie night. I really want to bring back a movie night. We should bring back Kalebu, one of the Gen AI meetups. Let's
Should
do a
be
movie
nice.
night. Okay. Were you there during the movie night?
It was there. This one will be. I remember it.
Yes. Movie night was nice. We should do that again. And then we grew from there. It started from just one. There were some events. We did a technical training series where we invited the experts from the ecosystem that are actually building AI solutions. So think Ali from Dr. Elsa, for those who remember him. Davis David, Yesaya, Ishagazi, Eric, Teacher Hidevu, the OGs who've been in this space to do a technical series. 5 weeks. We meet up once every Saturday for like lectures and workshop and whatever. You're given a small assignments to do over the week, and then we come back. Week 1, understanding AI, theory of AI, the foundations, and a little bit of Python, I think. How many people were in that room? 30 to 40. Week 2, we start Python. How many people were in that room? 15. Week 3, we went into machine learning and data science concepts. I think we started data visualization, stuff like that. How many people were in the room? 10. Week 4, machine learning. I think we had 7 people in that room. Week 5, the final day where we did deep learning, we had about 5 people in that room. Do we stop the show? No, we go on. Even if we were 3 people in that room, we go on. Because as we do it consistently, is where we'll grow. So start with Kawan School with a plan of doing it big. But if you can identify one school that you are willing to work with, that you know the people and you can do it easily, and you can find 2 or 3 other people who are willing to work with you, you do it. Someone else here has another school in their own area. Do it with that school. Start small, it will grow. Quality over quantity.
Quality over quantity.
I would rather have 2 really good devs than 10 mediocre devs, whether it's AI or otherwise.
I think I get you. The other thing, how can you grow the enthusiasm around open source projects? Because there are some of the people who are trying to put open source projects.
We are
But
one of them.
yeah, no one contributes. You get 1 or 0 contributors. They just end up there. How can we foster the growth around open source projects and contribution? Caleb, do you want to say?
Yeah, speaking with the plaza here. Because I want to set the open source project. I was like, okay. Also now the RV, I'm finding the moon, right?
Yes.
So speaking to RV, VP, how is it working out? And like, I did also go like I have like tons of open source projects, but the one which has excellent contributors basically the most, the one which is target design. But if you say, okay, I'm doing this, I'm taking the offer to come and do request do this, it's a bit hopeless. I mean, you can do the best intention, but the point is you can do tools. People can be using the tools. People are not contributing doesn't mean people are not using the tool, right? Just like, okay, people don't want to contribute, they want to take, they don't, maybe they might contribute to the implementation, but if you want, you can do tools and then it can be used, but you don't mandate by pull request, right? You say, my pull request is not 0, and doesn't mean by not building an impact, or someone not trying because someone not inspired. But if you are beyond and like, I think have a good open source feedback, you should find something like maybe what you need Android, right?
Yes.
Android is not something that is local, right? Anyone from the world can benefit from that. So how can you go into this Reddit, Twitter community? I talk to all kind of people, over the world. Maybe, all right, my main contributor, I come from Brazil. I have some guys from Italy, and high school students. One of the main contributors, can I do this? This guy I'm giving Twitter, can I get this out to the retainer and show it? You see, those are the people about they might think person solution. You should lock yourself. Okay, Tanzania. It's like it's global, it's open global, and open source is very tricky on that aspect of getting locals to actually
Contribute.
locally to projects. That's my view.
But why is it difficult?
I don't have an answer.
It's simple. Why should I? That's the question most people ask themselves. Why should I put the time to do this?
It's free work, right?
It's free work. I don't get any value out of that work. Open source has typically flourished in markets that value it. These are markets that either look at open source contributions when they're hiring talent, or because there's some sense of community around it. We don't really have open source community here. It's building up. Alex has set up Osaka, the open source Africa chapter, something. But we don't have an incentive program. We don't have a way that says, if you build open source, I'm much more likely to give you a job, for example. Because internationally, when you evaluate devs, how do we evaluate devs? Portfolio is 1, experience is 2, qualification is 3. Anyone that doesn't care about certificates and cares about the work you output, that's how they rank it. Show me what you've done, show me who you've worked for, show me what certificates or degrees you have. If I had to choose, I'd rather get to see what you've done. If you don't have that, then show me who you've worked for. If you don't have that, then fine, show me your degrees and your certifications. But ideally, and this is what I do when I need to work with devs, I don't care what degree you have. Most of my team are pharmacists or civil engineers. Their background is in something else. One is a civil engineer. Is anyone here working with Tausi? So Tausi, one of the big AI companies right now, the founder, Derek Kazimoto, he's worked for Amazon in South Africa in their deep learning department, in Amazon Deep Racer. Ask him what his degree is. Civil engineering. We don't give a shit what your degree is. Show us what you can do. And that's where open source plays a big part. Because when you work for a company, most of what you're developing is proprietary. You can't just show it. You can't tell your future employer, here, look at the code base. So how do you show your ability and your skill? Open source. Because then you can show them the code you write. You can show them the quality. You can show them your commitment, your expertise, your documentation skills. But when was the last time we asked a dev here locally to show us that? Some of us have that in our hiring practices. Anytime I put out a Google form looking for talent, I'm like, give me a link to your GitHub or to any portfolio you have. Because that's what I want to see. So when there's incentive for people to do that, then people are willing to put in the time. Why does anyone bother with, how many people here have done lead code? Okay, how many people here know what lead code is? Okay, so lead code is one of the big testing platforms. If you want to get hired by Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Netflix, any of the big tech companies, you have to do lead code. Because they give you algorithmic assessments, as in, here is a coding problem, solve the coding problem. And they have ranks of how difficult to simple it is. Lead code is a technical platform. You don't get any money for participating in it. The only thing you're doing is sitting there solving coding problems. But why do people do it? Because those are the same questions that Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Netflix use. So people will spend months studying lead code because there's a very strong incentive. We don't have strong incentive programs for why we should be doing open source. And when I say incentive, it doesn't have to be money. It is job opportunities. It is consulting opportunities. It is being invited to conferences. Like there is huge open source conferences that happen across the world. But we don't have an incentive structure that motivates people to do open source. People in the West will happily work on our open source projects because they know they're largely neglected. No one else is working on them. They reap all the benefits because it looks like how much have they contributed to the code base. By the end of it, most of your code base has been written by an Italian. We don't have those incentive structures around it. We have 2 open source projects. We are trying to flesh them out right now and make them a bit more well documented to get people to work on it. Freddie's working on one of them. And we know we're going to face that challenge. We're expecting most of our open source contributors to come from Sweden because they have a community and society dedicated to working on open source. We're hoping we can engage with people here. But I know we'll have to do hackathons where I offer prize money for that to happen. That us just singing, oh, we have an open source project, come contribute, isn't going to do anything. So we need to build the incentive structures around it. And these things take time, of course, because not enough people have them for us to demand for them. But we can only when we demand for them is when people are going to have them. So over time, we just keep on pushing that. I want to see what you built, but the only way to see what you built is open source or your own apps that you're willing to show me the code base for. Yeah.
Just like so I think that's very true. It's like for most of us, we don't see the incentive. We don't see the incentive of open source. And of course, in our community, maybe for most people, they don't see the reason. But maybe we need to really try to push it forward. Like maybe we need to push forward, telling people like, oh, what's your get? Like it should be one of the first things you ask. Like we need to make people really understand the value of this platform. Like if you're the other side, like what's your cargo, what's your saving and stuff like that. Because there are very few people who are actually using these tools, but those very few people are getting a lot of value. Like I would say I am one of maybe like an example. Because I started doing consulting, started doing projects, even before I started doing. I started going to events like the technical event which he's also talking about, like 50 people to like 7 people. I was one of those people from day one till the last day. And I learned a lot from there, but then still I was like, okay, so how are people going to trust me? How are people going to see that, oh, maybe this is something that we can do? I was like, there's no way I'm going to show these people. I'm going to show these people how experienced I am because I'm still in high school. I was in high school. I was like, okay, well, what should I do? I'm just do GitHub. So that's when I started pushing. I started just doing projects, just whenever I see anyone has like maybe small GitHub project, I just try to contribute anything. So when I get to sit down with some of the people, I can easily tell them, okay, this is what I did. I just try to make them understand. Even just the comment doesn't mean that I knew it, I just did an interview. This is what I contributed, this is how it was, that's it. And the thing is, you might see that most companies don't look at that, but there are people who look at that. Like I actually got a job straight from high school. And one of the main things was that I just had to tell them about my project, I just have to show them my kit. So there are people who actually look at this. You might just be like, oh, my lecturer never told me about it now. But in the real world, there are people who are looking at that. And of course, you're in Tanzania, but you also do look for opportunities outside Tanzania. So why would you just be like, since no one is talking about it, why would they not focus? So we really need to like emphasize in telling people the value of this tool. I think that's something very key, and maybe we need to find a way to emphasize it. Maybe in other forms or something, we just need to kind of like keep pushing the value of this. Maybe if it's a hackathon, we don't just talk about it. Maybe we just have everyone contribute. Well, like GitHub repo. Like at the end of the day, if someone lives there, they wanna have the GitHub as kind of like one of the maybe like proof, like, oh, this is what I did, and here's everything. And for me, usually when I go to a hackathon, after the hackathon, I always just go to everyone. Like someone who I feel like they have potential, like, oh, what's your GitHub? I go there, I check, I see something good. Next time I get like a project or something, I'm like, hey, did this, I saw you did this, you did good at this, this, and this. So just do this. So I'm just saying there are people out there who are looking for people who are good at this platform, who understand the value of these things. We just need to change our mindsets, and we need to like tell people or kind of like educate people about powerful this tools are. Yeah, that's okay.
I think maybe anything else. I got an idea here. Through those open source, can we like involve some sort of companies, like what Zin does. Maybe there's a certain company, they have a certain problems in AI. They give their data and they put it as a hackathon. Can't we do the same thing in open source? Maybe there's the trigger, and you think there's someone maybe can use that. You follow that company that can fund that project, so that other developers through generative AI meetups and all that, they can contribute on top of it.
Yeah, again, it's coming back to incentive programs because then it's a matter of funding the devs, but then the entire ethos of open source is also contribution. So
Yeah.
both sides can work. It's like it's kind of what has to happen when the way the Linux Foundation works or the way Red Hat works. They kind of have their own revenue sources that allow them to pay devs to work on the projects and programs. So yeah, it's things that we're exploring. Usually the problem is a lot of our solutions are within the public health, public education space. And then it's always like, who is going to pay for this? Government? Government isn't going to pay for this. Who else is going to pay for this? Becomes a struggle. But yeah, those are some of the areas to explore.
Okay. I think we didn't discuss anything on data infrastructure.
I'm out.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I think that should be the end of our presentation. Let us wait for lunch. Thank you. Online, yeah.
Very good. Very good. Is she back?
Well, I got your name. You told them.
Ah, okay. Yeah, so hi Francis, I see you here. We are we are having a lunch break, so we'll be back in the next 15 minutes and then we proceed from there. Hello?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so welcome everyone. We are going to the next session, and we have Ed here to present what he is doing with his research. And after that, we're going to have a talk with Francis Lavoie on AI governance, and I'm glad he's here. So let's hear from Ed and what he's trying to solve and why is it important. Yeah. So I hope you can see the presentation online.
Yes, I can see the presentation.
Okay.
see it.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Idi Lidha Sware, and I am from University of Dar es Salaam. So I will start with just a short introduction of myself. Okay. Thereof, this is my research project known as Deep Learning Model for Next Joint Classification of Alzheimer's and Parkinson diseases from challenging data sets. And to start with, this is my research project for my master's degree. And thereof, if this is a master's degree, therefore, that means I have a bachelor degree, which I took it from University of Dodoma, and it is Bachelor of Science in Telecommunications Engineering. And I tried to extend my bachelor degree just to the Masters of Science in Communications and Network Engineering. And the supervision, or I can say the other team members, one of them is Professor Balaka Maiseri from University of Dar es Salaam, Professor Xiao Wang from University of Science and Technology of China, and Dr. Angelina Miso from University of Dar es Salaam. These are other team members. So, and this research project is trying to introduce or to establish the SDG number 3, which is good health and well-being. So among 17 sustainable development goals, this is one among them, just a number 3, good health and well-being. So I'll try to go as quick as possible, maybe to catch up with our time. So our presentation outline will be covering 4 subsections. One of them is introduction. The second one is algorithm and deep learning model. And the third one is results and discussion, while the last one will be the conclusion. So to start with introduction, first of all, it is like to highlight the introduction to the problem. What is it about? First of all, from the introduction, from the introduction, I've seen the research title or the project title. You have seen two diseases here. You have seen Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson disease. These 2 diseases are called neurological diseases. And to go further, I'll break down it to go further. So I'll start with neurological diseases. Neurological diseases, simply, these are brain diseases with implication to human body coordination. And if the human body coordination is affected, therefore the body malfunctioning, the body is going to malfunction. It's going to wake up normal. Okay, this is neurological diseases. But we have 3 main categories of neurological diseases, which are neurotraumatic diseases, neuropsychiatric diseases, and neurodegenerative diseases. So a concentration of this research project is on neurodegenerative diseases. So what is neurodegenerative diseases? Okay, neurodegenerative diseases is simply those neurological diseases which involve dying of neurological, neuron cells in a brain, in a human brain. So thereof, the impact of it is causing abnormal functioning of human body. And
neurodegenerative diseases is further divided into 3 diseases, which is Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and Huntington disease. But this research project is basing on 2 diseases. I'll tell you why. Why 2 diseases? Why not 3? Why not Huntington disease and just Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease? Okay. So to start this is the first necessity of the problem, to why I'm trying, or we are trying to deal with this problem. So to start with, there are a lot of deaths which have been caused by neurological diseases. You can imagine about 10 million deaths has been caused by these neurological diseases, and this is according to the statistics that have been highlighted by Dean during 2019 in his article or paper of 2022. So he highlighted about 10 million deaths caused by this disease. And thereof, another author called Carroll, during 2019, again, he tried to highlight that neurological diseases is just the second cause of deaths after heart disease. So this is what you can see. And again, from the research title, you have seen a challenging data set. So I'm trying to introduce what is the challenging data set is. So that means we have tried to sort out this problem, to solve this problem of 2 diseases from the challenging data set. So what do we mean by saying it's a challenging data set? Challenging data sets is because these 2 diseases are sharing a lot of features, common features among them. To which, if you take an image of one disease, comparing to the image of another disease, they just look alike. They just look similar. You can't differentiate them, as you can see. The Parkinson's disease and Alzheimer's disease, by seeing it, you see it like a same image. But I mean, the same image, the same disease. But these are the 2 different images of different diseases. So that's why we call it challenging. It challenges even to differentiate them from a perspective of seeing it. Okay, and this is just a problem ideation. Where the problem comes from. So I tried to explain, and I tried to just give you an idea of these 2 diseases, where it comes from, what are they like. Okay, and maybe I have lost you. I've lost you somewhere else. I've just told you general Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease. You just know now these are the 2 neurodegenerative diseases. But what is Alzheimer's? What is Parkinson in specific? Maybe I've lost you somewhere. So Alzheimer's disease is simply a neurodegenerative disease, which basically the main symptom of it is a failure of cognitive ability. That means you tend to lose your memory as you get older. I mean, in age between 50 maybe to 90, those people between this age are suffering from the Alzheimer's disease. They tend to lose a lot of memory. So this is what we call about Alzheimer's disease. And one of the main symptoms, as I've told you, is just the deficit of cognitive ability. And Parkinson's disease, again, it is the same thing. It is a neurodegenerative diseases, which the main symptom of it, you can see a person is starting to tremor. You see, to tremor, like shaking hands, like, okay, confusion, sort of it. So this is Parkinson's disease. And I mean, I can say the sub-symptom of it is also loss of memory. So you can see those 2 diseases are dementia disease, and to which at the end, they are causing the loss of the memory. So this is just the short of this disease, the short details of these diseases. So I try to do the problem ideation for these 2 diseases. What are they like? I mean, what are we trying to solve? Okay, from the hospitals, we have a well-known machines. Maybe I can try to come closer. From hospitals, we have well-known machines.
I'm not sure if they're going to hear it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. Okay. From hospitals, we have well-known machines like Emai machine, like CT scanner, like fMRI machine, I mean the PET. Like from the first part, we can see a patient is going to be taken for those machines just to take an image of the human brain. We say the image acquisition. So this is what we call, this is what we know. We have well-known machines like that, which can take a human, an image of human brain, like this one. So thereof, what is happening? After taking those images, doctors are trying to do the image analysis to know whether a patient is of Alzheimer's disease or Parkinson's disease. But as I told you, these two diseases, the images of these two diseases look alike, look similar. So by visuality, you cannot differentiate them. So that is challenging, even for medical doctors. So what's happening, they're tending to confuse. Maybe a doctor can, can say this is Alzheimer's disease while it is Parkinson's disease. He can say this is a Parkinson's disease while this is Alzheimer's disease. So this is very difficult for medical doctors. So what is happening now? From this research project problem, as I told you, now we are trying to help doctors to do, to support them doing a proper medical decision to decide whether this is a disease, the specific disease is Alzheimer's disease or Parkinson's disease, and not confusing them. And thereof, this one will lead to a proper management of disease. Okay. By saying this, it's like these two diseases have different cure. Basically, there is no cure for these diseases, but I can say they have different treatment. So it is very dangerous to treat a patient of Parkinson's disease as Alzheimer's disease, or a patient of Alzheimer's disease as the one with the Parkinson's disease. That means we will mistreat the patient, and at the end, will cause the death of that. And maybe the patient will be among the deaths of the 10 million deaths. Okay. So this is what we are trying to do. We are introducing a deep learning model just to assist the doctor, to support the doctor to make a proper medical decision for a patient without maybe doing any confusion. Okay, and this is that's why I say this is a research project. That means it started with a project. It was a research. So this is a research highlight. To start with, as I told you, we have done an intensive literature review, and we have seen the researches that has been done for Alzheimer's disease only, that is AD only, and those researches that has been done for PD only, that's Parkinson's disease only. And thereof, there has been researches that highlighting the overlapping features for these two diseases. And unfortunately, once we were starting to do this research project, there were no maybe a lot of works, or maybe I can say there were insufficient works that has been done for this problem, and has been done by machine learning. And there were no any work that has been done by using deep learning. Once I started maybe to engage with this problem, there were no any research, maybe research work that used deep learning for this problem. Okay. So as you can see, this one is just a simple fit. A research gap where there is question mark. That means there is no work that has been done by using deep learning. Okay, but using machine learning, maybe there was 2 works, and using MATLAB there was also 2 works, but used to start the overlapping features. Okay, this is now the start of the work. That is the start of the work. Okay, after giving the highlight, the very important details, just to catch up with the problem. So this is now a real start of the work. So a real start, a real work that we have done is to come up with an algorithm and a deep learning model for solving this problem. And this is the classification problem. So by saying that, we need to have data. You cannot do a deep learning or AI technique or method without data. You need to have data. Okay, so this is the data that we have used for this research problem. So we have used the two different data with different imaging modalities. So by saying image modalities, and this one I've introduced you, I said we have very known or famous machines that we are using at hospitals. The MRI machine, the fMRI machine, the CT scan, and maybe the PET. So that means those images, we call them imaging modalities. Those PET, MRI, those are imaging modalities. So we have used two imaging modalities of two different data sets. I'll tell you why we have used that. Okay, so so we have three classes. We have Alzheimer's disease, class for Alzheimer's, class for Parkinson, and else. Else is for control. Is for control because a patient can be else or can be affected by these two diseases. Okay, so we have these three classes. So we have done maybe a data splitting, I can say. For example, for MRI, we had 7,367 images. So we have done sort of splitting among these three diseases, but among main two subsets, train and test. Train and test. And the PET again, we have 7,329 images. So we have done also sort of data splitting among these two main subsets, the train and test, and among three classes. So these are just links because these one are public data sets. We have tried to use the public data sets. For PET, we used any ADNI alone, just to pull up the data set for PET, and MRI we used cargo. Okay. Now, starting is algorithm. And as I've said, you have two main contributions for this research project. First, you have algorithm. The second one, we have the deep learning model. So to start with, as I've said, these two diseases it's very challenging for them to for you maybe to separate them. And if it is challenging, that means for your model, you need to have two data sets. I mean, you need to have a data set of Alzheimer's disease, a data set for Parkinson's disease. And if this is the point now, you need to consider these two data sets must overlap. So if these two data sets must overlap, you need to do a way around to check these two data sets. Are they have common features? Are they overlapping? So the only way to do it, this is what we did by using this algorithm to make sure these data have overlapping features. Without that, maybe I can say your work could be like nothing. Maybe if you use two data sets without overlapping features, that work would be nothing. Because the target for this is to make sure these two diseases have overlapping features and we separate them or classify them efficiently. So this is like, we start our work. We have to process the raw data, raw images that we've seen from the data sets, maybe from ADN alone, or maybe from the cargo. Then we pre-process them. We make sure that they are suitable to be processed by our model. So thereof, the input will be of the pre-processed data set. That means you can use maybe MATLAB or you can use some Python codes just to pre-process your image to make it look alike, make it suitable for your model. Then you do data splitting, as I've said, you do data splitting to testing and training. But before training your model, you need to make sure, does your data have that overlapping features? If it doesn't, therefore, no need for you to do that work. You need to add the process. So that was a very crucial block for checking out the process. So we check the overlapping features. Is there overlapping features? Yes, we do the model training. No, we halt the process. After maybe we say yes, there is overlapping features, we do the model training, then we need to check out the optimal model by testing it. We test. Is it reaching maybe the proper accuracy that we want? If it is yes, we do the classification. If it is no, we do fine tuning until we reach that proper accuracy we want or proper performance metric that we want. And after the classification, we expect the output of, we expect three outputs. The first output, whether it is Alzheimer's disease, or it can be Parkinson's disease, or it can be else, depending on the image or depending with the patient that we are trying to diagnose, to do the diagnosis. Then we end up the process. Okay. How do we do checking for overlapping features? And this is how we did it. We used a visualization method, which is PCA. PCA is simply principal component analysis. This is a good tool to do analysis with just scatter plots, and it was just ease. You just feed up. You just have that machine learning technique. Machine learning technique such as PCA is very good for visualization. You just have a very simple Python code. You feed up your training data set, then it will visualize that in with the scatter plots. Then you'll try to see if this the red one is Parkinson, the blue one is Alzheimer. If they are too closer, or the proximity, maybe I can say the proximity is very small, that means there is overlapping features. Otherwise, there is no overlapping features. So this was just a way to quick note down that there is overlapping features. Okay. By doing that, we were satisfactory that these two diseases have overlapping features as per data that we have chosen. Okay, that means we have got to go ahead to use those data sets. And that is just a model now. A deep learning model, this one we were trying to design a very simple model which can meet our requirement. And we tried to use, to avoid existing pre-trained models. I know we understand that we have pre-trained models such as DenseNet, AlexNet, we have VJ16, maybe VJ19, maybe FinB0, and so on. So as we remember, these existing pre-trained models might be very complex, or maybe they were meant for a certain problem. So maybe we need to navigate now to design our model to be specific for a problem, and not maybe to borrow a certain model for a different problem. So this is what we did. We did a design for a simple deep learning model. So you have an input image here. You feed up to the model, a well-trained model. Maybe the output now is going to Alzheimer, Parkinson, or Earth. So this is a model. So, and by saying that, we were trying to do a sort of simulations for different observations, for different, I can say, different simulations. For example, for this one, maybe after trying to come up with the final deep learning model, once you are trying to design a deep learning model, it doesn't mean that you come up with the final model at once. Maybe you can start up with, maybe I can say 2 modules of layers. Maybe you can start with maybe a convolutional layers, a block of convolutional layer, and pooling layer, maybe 2 blocks or 3 blocks. Maybe you can try to start with that. And then you cannot say that you have finished. You try to train your model, test your model, then you see the result. If it is not okay, you try to do fine tuning by adding some blocks, more blocks. Okay, for example, for this one now, we started with 2 module of blocks, the convolutional layers and maximum pooling layers. 2 blocks and some of other sub blocks. So the performance was somewhere else. Then we tried to add some more blocks to improve the performance, and we ended up with some 6 blocks, and with some more sub blocks to make sure that the model is going to perform well. Okay, and this one was the final 12 simulations, 12 different simulations for different dropouts. So for MLI, we did 6 different dropouts. That means with 0 dropouts, with a dropout of 0.1, 0.2, up to 0.5. And this was the result. Quite the same for the PET. And what were we observing? We were observing for an improvement from the benchmark. Okay, that's why I say this is research. And if it is research, that means once you are trying to do your work, you're just trying to have a benchmark of a certain work. And the good thing is, there was during 2022 by March, there was a similar work, I can say, but it used a very different deep learning technique. Okay, during that's when I was trying to finish my work, but that work came around. So it used somewhat a deep learning technique, but different from mine. It used a pre-trained model. So that was the benchmark also for me. I tried to improve my work from that also. So from saying that, this was just an improvement from each of the simulation. So that means from improvement, it can be positive improvement or negative improvement. So you can see you have some negative values and some positive values. So what we are trying to see from each simulation of different dropouts, we were trying to see a dropout that gives us a positive improvement for all performance metrics, for sensitivity, for specificity, for precision, and the F1 score, but mainly for a primary performance metric, which is accuracy. So that is that was the positive improvement for the model. For the dropout of 0.5, 0.5, there was the positive improvement. And for the accuracy, this is just the accuracy curve. Accuracy maybe for MLI. For MLI, the accuracy was 99.83%. And for the PET was 99.66%. Contrary to the existing work, which is 99.11%. Okay, this is just the curve. So remember, how do you characterize your model that it is well performing or not? Okay. But to start with, to characterize your model, whether it is performing well or not performing well, you can just try to look out for your numerical results. Okay. You can have maybe a numerical result of to be saying your numerical result for accuracy, maybe it is 90%, that means it is good. Maybe 80%, that means it is good. But how is it good? You try to benchmark maybe with existing work by saying you have improved by somewhere, by some percent. Okay, that is one. You look out for the numerical results. This is what we did. But also you need to try to look the curves. Maybe for this curve, this is for accuracy. For this accuracy, you can see you have the training accuracy and the validation accuracy. So the validation accuracy, this one you use the testing data sets to do also the validation. You can use the same data sets. So from this one, the pink is validation, the blue is training, as you can see. They are too closer. If they are too closer, that means your model is performing well. What you have trained your model is trying to do the same while you are doing the testing. They are too closer. And maybe if one of the curve could be maybe too far from the another, that is one of the signs that your model might be not well performing. And it can be underperforming or overperforming. But if these two curves, they are closer, that means your model is good fitting, is performing well. Okay. This is for loss. Also for loss, you can see these two curves, they are too closer. So you're starting to remove your wall. That's how your model is performing. So this is how the model is performing, is good fitting. Again, this is for PET. The first one was for MLI. This is for PET. It was the same. And this is loss for PET also. Yeah. And now we were trying to do now the qualitative results also. Because the first one we did the quantitative. You just see the curves, you just see the values. Okay. You can go further to satisfy yourself by qualitative results. You just try to insert your data sets, to your test data sets, then you see from the labels. The true label, that means this is the actual label for your image. What that image was it about? Was it for? It was, for example, the first image. It was, the true label is Alzheimer's. That means that this image was meant for Alzheimer's disease. And for testing it, that means we took that image and set into our trained model. Then our training model trying to tell us what is the predicted label. Again, it is Alzheimer's disease. So that means if it is Alzheimer's, that means that is working properly. That's working correct. Then we insert different images. For example, this one, we have 20 images. We insert the different 20 images. So you can see what it tells, what our model tells. If it is else, it tells you it is else. If it is Parkinson, it tells you it is Parkinson. Quite the same for the pet. It tells you what is it. So for the conclusion now, this is where I will tell you why we decided to use two different data sets. Okay, so you can see now a gap of performance, as I've told you, we achieved the performance of 99.83. You can see for MLI, and for PET it is 99.66. The gap of it from 99.83 to 99.66, it's about 0.17%. And this one, 99.11, this is just a benchmark, the best existing research work that has been done. Okay, that has been done by Ali Uzaif. Okay, just this Ali Uzaif is just a professor from Saudi Arabia. He tried also to attempt sort of solving the related problem. So just to highlight why we try to use different data set of different imaging modalities. During the research, the literature review, we observed that there were different works that have been done by using the same machine learning technique, which were the support vector machine. So thereof, then we observed the gap of performance were too huge, and it was about 9.3%. That was too worrying. That means you have used the same machine learning technique, you have used different data sets, but the gap of performance is too huge. And if that is the point, it starts worrying you, the betterness of your model. Maybe your model is not that better. Maybe it is better for some data sets, or maybe it overfits for that data set that you have chosen. It might make you worry, right? So what we did, we tried to say, okay, if our model is performing well for MRI, it is well and okay. How do we make sure that our result is satisfactory? We must choose another data set from different source and try to do the same process. Train your data set, test your data set, see the result. So this is what the encouragement of using two different data sets. So we did the same, we get the good result about the gap of performance for accuracy about 0.17%, contrary to the existing work, which is 9.3%. Okay. By saying that, this was just the highlight. This was just the highlight. As I have said, you can find out a lot of deep learning related works. They're using the pre-existing models, which hinders the development of the technology. Artificial intelligence technology. This is too a problematic key move. So to change that step, we need to be innovative, to just try our different methods, our different techniques from the scratch, not using the existing models. Because if you use existing models that has been used for different problems, that is a problem, because you are not sure if it will perform well for your model if you use maybe some different data sets. So that was the encouragement, not to use the pre-existing trained models, rather to use a model from scratch. You start from a very low stage, trying to check out until you reach the desired result. And the essence of this slide is that you can see different pre-trained models, the AlexNet, the VG19, the VG16 maybe, DarkNet 53, the exception, the DesiNet, and maybe the hybrid. The one of the research used the hybrid model, combine these all. So you can see now, all of these, they are the foundation of the deep learning architecture that let's use the CNN. This is CNN for all. It's CNN. But the good thing, the CNN is customizable. You can customize it by yourself, so whenever you want. Whatever you want it to be, you can do it by yourself. But a very good information again is the number of layers for each technique. For example, AlexNet has 8 layers. VGG16 has 16 layers. VG19 has 19 layers. Darknet has 53 layers. Exception has 71 layers. So the more the layers are, your model is becoming very complex. And if it is complex, that means there are two things. You can have an overfitting model. And reminding you, a very complex model, that means even the training time is going to be very longer. If not execution time, the training time is going to be very long. So you can try to simplify the model, but you try to look out the optimization techniques, like regularization techniques. Maybe a use of dropouts, maybe some other techniques like hail stopping, just like to avoid training your model too longer. And OAs, you can try to use the number of layers, which is unnecessary. Okay. And how about our proposed model? So this is the question mark for our proposed model. So for our proposed model, I tried to use 6 layers. I've tried to tell you, we started with 2 layers to see how the model is performing, and until we reach 6 layers. Okay, and then we tried to do the optimization. We used different techniques for optimization to make sure we have 6 layers, yes, but the optimization techniques are going to play a very vital part for a good performance for classification of this problem. Okay. Thereof, I would like to say thank you to the Enhanced Mind AI conference, and thereof, which is sponsored by Deep Learning Indaba and powered by Chemo Labs. Thank you.
Yeah.
So actually, he's my classmate. Tunasoma darasa moja miaka minne, and I'm glad he's here to share with us what he's been doing with AI. And thank you so much. So if there is any question, online team, like online attendees, welcome for questions.
Yeah. Ruben, I have a question.
Yeah, you can proceed.
Yeah, but first of all, I want to thank the organizers of these events. It's a huge privilege for me to be here and witness the work that's just been presented. I'm not a public health expert, so I always look at what public health specialists are doing with so much admiration. I was going to, the moment the presentation was introduced, I was going to ask quickly how he would differentiate between, methodologically, of course, between the Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease, but his approach that he used, using dedicated data sets for these two closely related diseases, is just quite innovative. So thank him for that. My question then will be, I have 2 questions. I see this work fitting very nicely into, say, the Sustainable Development Goals 3, which is promoting good health and well-being. So just looking at the bigger picture, I want to find out from him how he envisioned his work contributing to the broader global health agenda. And then the last thing is, the last question I have is, I'm often thinking about the future of research. I'm very passionate about continuity. So I know this is part of his master's project, like he introduced, but if he had, say, unlimited resources, if he had all the resources he could have, how does he envision advancing this research? What what are the next steps from this work that he's doing that he would like us to know about. So those are my two questions. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So welcome Abe to respond.
Okay, thank you. Thank you once again. As I've caught your questions, and starting with the first question, you are trying you need to know how this research project touch the SDG number 3, good health and well-being. This is the first question you want. You need to know how, okay? And the second question, you have said, if I have infinite resource, you need to know how will I advance this research project? Okay, I think I've not mistaken, right?
Thank you very much. You got them. I thought I messed them up, but you got them very well. Over to you.
Okay. So starting with the first question, how the research project try to touch the SDG number 3. Okay, because the research problem itself is addressing the neurological diseases, which is very relevant to mental health. And thereof, we understand the mental health is a global agenda, is a very big problem for our community, for our social well-being. If our brains are affected by diseases, that means our body are going to malfunction. Even the coordination of it, the body coordination is going to be affected. So if it is affected, that means if our body is affected, that means now our health is going to be very bad, very bad. If it is very bad, then even our economic issues are also going to be affected. There would be economic decline per individual level, even for a national level, because a manpower is from human beings, is from ourselves. If you are affected by these diseases, then it affects our well-being, our good health and well-being, then it affects everything about us, even the economic, even from other, maybe other items like politics, maybe social well-being and some other stuff. So this is what it is. But as I've said, the issue now from these two diseases is treating them. If we mistreat a patient by confusing these two diseases, that means the management for a patient is going to be very problematic. If it is problematic, that means we're going to lose a patient. That patient is very important for our development. So keeping the good health and well-being for that patient is very vital for everything about development of our country. So maybe not our country only, even a global level. So that's why you say very important for keeping this sustainable for even development. I think for the first question, I've tried to answer it, right? So for the second question is like, now if we have full resource, how do we advance this? Okay, so about full resource is like, this research project is, if now the model is performing well, it's just like to Hello?
Hello.
Yes, I think we are lost here due to the network issue. Maybe I don't know if you have got me well for the first question.
Yes. No, you highlighted it very well. This is a very important diagnostic study, and the classifications you are doing. Like I said, even in my introduction, the way you've proposed the classification of Alzheimer's from Parkinson. I mean, these are the struggles that I see every day when I'm listening to public health experts. On the first one, very well. But I'm also very keen on the second question. Like, I want to know how you will advance, or how you envision advancing this work going forward if you had all that you needed. Over.
Okay, thank you. So for the second question, of course, I have a plan to extend this work to be workable and to solve else, maybe a medical diagnostic problem. So what I need like just a support, because this one is going to be maybe not enough to solve a medical problem. Also, you need to do it in a financial perspective to make it bring maybe what we call a benefit. Maybe I can say financial benefit. So what we can do, we can create a product, a very well medical product, which can be used for different hospitals to solve this problem. Okay, and what do we need? Maybe we're expecting the end project to, the end project product to be based on the software. So the software will be used at hospitals, maybe computers, that computer belongs to the medical doctor, has that software. So once a doctor got those images, he feed those images to that software, then the software does its work. Process those images, do the proper analysis, gives the result to the doctor. Then doctor tries now to make a proper medical decision from that support of the computer with a deep learning model that we have suggested. So it is like a very big struggle that we need is to see how can we come up with a very proper computer software products that can be used. And now the business strategy, to have that product is not enough. Now a strategy for that product. How are we going to launch it? Maybe it's going to be online. That means we're going to advance it day to day, do day-to-day advancement, and maybe we're going to make different hospitals to do a subscription for the service. Then after some months, they have to pay after using it. Because what we have done a lot for the hospitals. I can say we have reduced the number of resources. A doctor, instead of using many hours to solve a problem for one patient, he can use maybe some seconds, maybe some minutes to solve for the same problem for a patient. So maybe I can assume he or she, a medical doctor, maybe use 4 hours for one patient. With this system, maybe he's going to use maybe 10 minutes to sum up for the conclusion for diagnostic condition for the patient. So if that is the point, now we can see after 4 hours, how many patients are going to be saved by using one doctor, just many patients. So from that, hospitals is going to improve the work performance and the work experience. That is one. The second one, the hospitals are going to improve the quality of the work. Okay, by using the product that maybe we might come up. There may be a computer-based software. That is the second one. Maybe the work quality, the diagnostic quality is going to be also improved. Okay, and maybe the last one, as I've said, even the number for the hospital, instead of using a resources, a money, a cost for employing, maybe, we pay doctors according to the hours that they spent for service. If they spend 8 hours for one patient, 2 patients, it's a wastage of money or cost. So if by doing that, we're going to cut down the costs from the hospital level. Yeah. As also I've tried to top it up, in order to make this product more efficient, we need to make it online for doctors to use it as maybe I can say, this system can not exactly a doctor. We cannot replace a human resource, but we add up a support. But from that, instead of having 10 employees, you are going to have maybe 2 employees with the support of the system. So we cut down the budget for them, but we are trying for us to use that system as another employee for them. So to strict it, you can make it online with a subscription. Maybe you can say, we give you this system to the hospital for 1 month. There of 1 month, if you don't pay, then the service is going to be shut down. So the hospitals will be also now trying to give some economic or finance benefit to the owner of the product. Like from that model, just that model I've tried to just to explain it in a short way around. I think it is somewhat clear.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay.
Something to be thinking about. Over to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe if there is more question.
There is a question.
Okay, welcome.
We have a question from this side.
Yeah, so we are, I think let's respond to the question here, then we're going back to you.
Okay.
The data you collected was the one for PET scans and the MRIs. That means you're going to use only one modality. It is known that there are shortcomings that come from PET scans and MRI. What if you consider using two modalities, that you also integrate that people that uses EGG analysis to improve the model? That helps using the accuracy. Not only using images, use the other checkup where they check the brain waves of Parkinson's and Alzheimer's patients with accuracy.
Okay. Maybe can you rephrase your question? I've caught it, but maybe you can rephrase it.
What if you use two types of data? The images, brain, brain.
Okay, nice. So to start with, for example, for PET images are using radio waves. So basically are using radio waves that hits the human brain. So the effects can be seen from the image of that radio waves, okay? So from that perspective, that means once we are using PET, it means we are using the waves, the imaging waves, right? To do maybe to do the analysis of the patient, if you are using the PET. But using the MRI, that it is not about a little bit of the waves, but also it is like, you know, now we are trying like to check what is going inside the image of the human brain, okay? The activities going on for the human brain once we take the MRI picture, okay? But you can use all of these two images at once, but depending with what technique are you going to use. For example, for myself, I was trying to think to use both of these two data sets at once. But I thought if you combine these two data sets at once, then you do the training, it might be trouble for the accuracy. You can get a very poor accuracy because the model will be trying to figure out what is this and what is this, what is this, while maybe you have two different images meant for the same disease, but you are training them at once. It might be sort of confusion. Even the accuracy is going to be, maybe it might be poor. So what I thought, maybe I can train these two data sets different, and I can do the symbol subspace. We call them a symbol subspace. That means you have two different models, you combine them by using that techniques, then you do the same thing. You input the images, then it will try to figure out the model by itself, because you made it hybrid. By itself, it will tell you what is exactly the disease. The input is regardless whether it's the MRI or PET. The doctor will just insert the image without considering it is PET or MRI. But it should be two, whether MRI or PET to the system. But what you have done a symbol subspace. Okay, I think somewhat I've tried to explain.
CNN.
Yeah. Okay, nice. So the logic of using CNN from RNN, you know, for RNN is always trying to I can say to maneuver for time series of some events. Maybe if I could want to check out the progress of the patient for a specific disease. It could be better to use RNN because what RNN does, it can extract the time series for the images. And you can maneuver to know the progress of the disease from the images with RNN. But if you want to do the analysis of the image, deep down the features of the image, okay, it is better use CNN because CNN is specific for image classification, while RNN is very specific for extraction of time series. Okay, I think I've tried. Welcome. Hello.
Okay, Nelson, you have a question, right? Hello, from Nelson Mandela.
Yes, you have a question here.
Yeah, welcome.
Yes, for the accuracy, it was like 100% training. That's not indication that the model has overfit.
Okay, thank you.
Uh,
Okay, thank you. So for you to know the model, whether it is overfit or not, you cannot observe only for the training accuracy. You need to observe training to testing or maybe validation. If not testing, it is validation. So to talk it in short, that means if the gap between the training and the testing is too huge, that is a sign of misbehavior of your model. Okay, maybe I can say like let's say your training accuracy is 100. Okay, then you do the testing. The testing accuracy maybe it is going to be 50. That is a problem. But that problem is going to be not overfitting, it's going to be underfitting. Okay, but that's why I tried to say the training accuracy was 100%, but now there are other techniques to make sure that the model is going to overfit. One of that technique is to use different data sets to see whether the problem of overfitting is going to exist or not. But for training, always it's not a problem to be 100%. But for training, yeah, for testing, it is a problem. If you're trying to test your model and maybe it is exactly 100%, that you can try to question. Or maybe the testing accuracy is too bigger than the training. That is, you're trying to stress the problem. But also, apart from accuracy, you can check out from the loss. Yeah. If the testing loss is too huge comparing to the training, that is really a problem. That is overfitting. Your model is misbehaving. So that's why even from the caves, you can start from the caves. That gap, while you are trying to train your model is per different epochs, you try to check out how your model tries to trend. If now the model is going to make a very huge gap, whether whether the gap of the training is going to be above or going to be below, but there is a big gap, that is a sign of overfitting or underfitting. Otherwise, it is good fitting. Okay, I think I've tried to answer your question. Hello?
She said it's okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Jin, for letting us pass through the other kind of actually machine learning architectures, because we've been talking of generative AI, transformers, and the others, but actually it's nice to see how we can solve other problems actually with CNN and other architectures for computer vision specifically. though we have also transformer for computer vision, the vision transformers, but we appreciate for you being here and sharing what you are solving with deep learning specifically. Thank you so much. So our next session actually is going to be a very just a short talk with Francis. So I see Francis is here because it's just a talk. So I don't know if Francis, so maybe you have a presentation or something, but you can just introduce yourself and tell us a bit about AI governance, but also we're going to proceed from there after highlighting what we're going to discuss for like 20 minutes. So you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruben. Yeah, my name is Francis Lavoine. I'm from Ghana originally. I'm currently in Washington, D.C., reading my PhD in data science here. My career mission is simple: to help governments and development partners use data more responsibly in spending our money, basically. So I'm on the evidence for development side. I also have a mentorship program that I'm constantly looking for ways to connect talents with opportunities, especially in international development.
Sorry.
I have. Sorry.
I don't know if you're in a position where you can switch on your camera. If not, then you
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you see me?
Yeah, that's perfect now. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So like I stated, my statistical practice, my data science practice is more centered towards policymakers. So I've been working for the World Bank. I spent some 2 to 3 years also in Tanzania, working as a representative for the United Kingdom's government. So I was placed within the Tanzanian government. So I was like a local civil servant in Tanzania, leading and facilitating training programs and helping with implementing some of the household surveys that the Takwimu House has been collecting. And so last year I moved to Washington, D.C. to pursue my PhD in data science, like I mentioned. So when Ruben reached out to me to introduce this conference, I said, you can never be prepared. I'm happy to join for this fireside chats on AI governance. And so Ruben, that's about me. As far as this session is concerned, sorry to say that I don't have a specific presentation to project, but I'm happy to bounce ideas of you, also moderate discussions around how we can regulate the use of AI. So some initiatives are ongoing, and we can see how also as a continent like Africa, how we can catch up with the pace. So that's about me. Over to you, Ruben.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Actually, didn't expect you to have a presentation, so that's perfect. Yeah. Okay, let me do something. Yeah. So I have some few questions that we'll be discussing together, and to actually have your perspective on what you think maybe we should do. And generally, when we are talking about AI governance, we are trying to explore different aspects of either regulating AI or creating policies or frameworks and doing all the ethical things which we think are very important to make sure if it is like a person is consuming AI, is consuming something which is is having positive impact on her side or his side. So can you share a bit, as you said, you work on that side too, about your experience, but also how do you see, I don't know, for how long? Like, have you been specifically, as you said, you've been in Tanzania 3 years, for 3 years. I don't know your experience with Ghana, like the progress there when you compare maybe to Tanzania and Africa, like the whole continent generally. Do you see like there is progress specifically in terms of either having strategies or creating frameworks or policies which is going to help us to adapt the technology, considering the fact that most of the models we are using are not created here in Africa? So what is your general perspective?
Yeah, no, yes. First of all, you touch on what AI governance is. It's often good to put some of these terminologies in context. So with AI governance, you are talking about policies, you are talking about regulations and frameworks that ensure responsible development, deployment, and use. So it's not just the use of the AI technologies, it's also about development and deployment as well. We know that globally, the United Nations is leading efforts to ensure that people's data are ethically collected. It's also making efforts to regulate deployments and developments of these AI technologies. One important thing the United Nations has done, which is very good for even ED to know, is that they've come up with a classification level to classify, to provide like risk. They've come up with a risk levels so that if AI is going to be used in, say, healthcare and health policy, then that is highly risky, and that will require countries, organizations, and users to pay more attention to findings from using AI for health policy, for instance, whereas other normal applications like social science applications, business applications are less risky. So at the global level, we see these efforts from the United Nations to take charge. Regional level, we see also a lot of work going on with the European Union. We know that the European Union has, I think the EU Act, the European Union Artificial Intelligence Act, which they came up with in 2021, which is also just building on this work that the United Nations is doing, providing risk level, providing governance structure, providing regulatory frameworks for AI. So this is permeating through various regional bodies, like even Asia Pacific regions are doing that. When we come to our side, Africa, we are catching up a lot. In 2020, the AI African Union started catching up with the discussion. So we have AI for Africa manifesto, which was just a white paper drawing Africa's mind to what is going on with AI. If we remember, during the COVID-19, countries largely shut down. We experienced global shutdown, airports and everything closed. So a lot of AI technologies sprang up during those periods to facilitate remote working and also keep the global economy moving. But a very important thing that has come up is that the African Union came up with AI, the African Union Digital Transformation Strategy, which is something along the line of Sustainable Development Goals. So between 2020 to 2030, is looking to implement this strategy to encourage member states to customize their own strategy for regulating and governing AI operations. So my experience from Ghana, and because I spent the last 4 years in Ghana, in Tanzania, the last 3 years in Tanzania before moving to DC, one thing I know the Ghana government is doing is, one, we have issues with skills to properly understand how to even leverage these technologies very well. I mean, the United Nations and the developed economies are the ones leading the development and deployment of these AI technologies. African countries, we are not. The problem with the development of these technologies is that there is issue with transparency. So we don't really have access to the back end of these technologies, let alone understand how to customize something that can be used at national level. What I see some countries doing quite smartly, countries like Ghana, South Africa, Kenya, and also Uganda I heard recently, is they are beginning to partner with AI firms. I know Ghana now has the headquarters for Google's research center position in Ghana, Accra now, and they are and because the AFTA secretariat is also located in Accra, there is a lot of work with getting African countries to begin to partner with organizations like OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, so that they can begin to understand the infrastructure and then lead the recommendation from the African Union to develop something customized for African countries. When I was with World Bank in Tanzania, one thing that we started doing, which I think can be replicated for AI regulation in Africa, is that when you take a country like, say, Uganda, Tanzania, or Rwanda, maybe we are too small individually to come up with a globally recognized AI strategy for ourselves, or we may not have the infrastructure to develop our own fully fledged AI technology yet. A lot is going on as far as enhancing the ecosystem is. But one thing we're doing at the bank was we started coming up with regional statistics projects where SADC, for instance, EAC, ECOWAS, and the other regional bodies are leading data and statistical development efforts. And we've seen how this is already helping to harmonize computational processes, harmonize generation of key statistics across the region. So you take EAC, for instance, we want to understand how the countries within EAC are doing individually, but then how are they also progressing the EAC agenda? So you have EAC leading harmonization efforts. And we are thinking AI should also be embedded in that conversation. We should have that just like the European Union has done, we should have EAC leading this effort for the nucleus of countries under EAC. We should have ECOWAS doing that for the West African bloc. We should have SADC doing that for the Southern African bloc. And so in terms of a broader overview of how AI governance has been shaping up, has been evolving, Ruben, this is what I have to say broadly. So I'll hand over to you now for any specifics that you might want to talk about.
Thank you so much. So as you were speaking, I had to find the AI, like the African Union AI strategy. So I have it here. And I was
fantastic.
Yeah, so it has a title like Continental Artificial Intelligence Strategy, Harnessing AI for Africa's Development and Prosperity. And some of the things which they've included here, there are some blocks here, like there is maximizing AI benefits, building capabilities for AI, minimizing AI risk, African public and private sector investing in AI, regional and international cooperation and partnership. So the last block actually highlights what you say, like maybe we can have like these regional communities working on these things, if it is strategies or policies, like we have SADC, we have ECOWAS building them, working on them, and then maybe the communities can come together and try to create something like to unify what they have like either highlighted from those specific communities across Africa. So I just wanted to ask you, what do you think is the role of education
maybe in preparing future leaders to see the importance of having either AI governance strategy, because as you see in times like these where you have either election and similar things, AI can have a massive impact, for instance, when you talk of deepfakes. So do we have those technologies maybe to help us either avoid maybe extracting social behavior on social medias and influence elections, or maybe have technology that can help either detect and prevent spread of deepfakes and misinformation? So what is the what's your thought when you think of all the bad that can happen if we don't have AI maybe regretted in some ways? Though I have some thoughts from one of my friend always say, like, we don't have AI in Africa, so what AI are we regretting? So like we are regretting other people's AI systems and tools. So is that important, or because we don't have maybe a very big contribution to the AI ecosystem, then we should not work on that? Or what do you think of that? Like there is a lot of education, there is how we can create, or we can help leaders, for instance, these country leaders to be aware of what is happening and to take the necessary steps. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you for this question, and also checking on that AU document. First of all, yeah, I share the sentiment from your colleague who is saying that AI is not in Africa. So to what extent should we be worried? I think that's more or less his dilemma. Should we be worried? Should we not?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I have been to the EU. I've been here for say 1.5 years, like I've said, and I have seen how AI is being infiltrated in every aspect of the US government. I'm a researcher basically because of my PhD. I will be angling towards a research career, and we've already seen how artificial intelligence is informing how we even plan data collection efforts. It's informing how we go out and collect data. Right now, uh, research firms are beginning to think about cutting down on the number of field visits, and instead using AI chat boxes to collect data. We've also seen rapid developments of large language models that have been built on volumes of terabytes of data that no human alone can contain. We have seen a lot of usage of AI generated insights in policy making in Europe and here in the United States. One thing that we have to do as Africans and as a continent is not to sit behind and watch the developed countries do this, and we have to catch up with the pace. That's my point. If U.S. Department for Agricultural Development can rely on insights generated from large language models to administer agricultural funds, why can't we African countries begin to try at least to understand what we are doing? So when I mentioned this regional statistical project that the World Bank is implementing with the various regional bodies, I was one of the people who developed the proposal for this regional statistics project, which is aiming to train 1,000 to 2,000 1,000 to 2,000 Tanzanians. So for every country, there is a target of training close to 1,000 people across postgraduate courses. People going for masters, people going for undergrad, people going for PhD, and I am beginning to feel bad. I'm beginning to feel bad that we did not make the allocation for AI very significant in this regional statistics program that I'm talking about. And I'm regretting that now because I am living in, say, Washington, D.C., the seat of the United States government, where I see AI being used sporadically, AI being used at a rate that is even overwhelming. So I think for Africa, we should be able to begin to identify talents and helping these talents acquire the needed education to come back to Africa and help. During the 1960s, 1950s, and the 1970s, where a lot of African countries annexed independence from their colonial masters, the model of education that helped was identify the best talents in Africa, getting them educated in the Western democracies, and encouraging them to come back to Africa to help with the independence fight, to help with the development fight, the economic development fight of Africa. That's how we had people like Kwame Nkrumah, who returned to Africa to lead independence fight. We had our own Nyerere, and a lot of these examples. We should begin to see AI as something that requires very concerted effort like that. People who have passion to study AI should be motivated to study it to whatever level is required to then come back to support African countries to lead this. I see some developments already coming up in countries like South Africa, and South Africa being so good, they often lead innovations for the African continent before everybody else begin to catch up. Also, like I mentioned, having Google, for instance, being open to establish innovation hubs in Africa, there are already opportunities for African countries to push talent to work with these organizations and help with the development of regulatory framework. So my conclusion to this question to you, Ruben, is that with the rate at which developed countries are using AI for policy making, the rate at which developed countries are using AI for data collection, the rate at which they are using AI's insight to administer cash transfer programs, the rate at which they are using them to develop policies, I think we are at a point where we cannot fold our hands and sit behind and watch this happen. If not, we'll be completely taken over. Over to you.
Thank you so much. So you talked about data, and then I remembered like we have a very big problem when it comes to data correction, but also access to data, because most of them are in either government agencies or government institutions, and there is a lot of bureaucracy when you are trying to either to request data for a certain, either for research or for any other purpose that is actually expected to help the community. So while you are finalizing, you can talk about that problem and how like to what extent do you see it and how we can address it. Then we are going to have some few questions. If there is any question, then we're going to conclude the session. So talk a bit about data and what are the challenges and how we can mitigate those challenges to be able to either build or come with helpful machine learning models for the community.
Yeah, thank you for this pointing to a key question around data sharing. I mean, when I was in Tanzania, even though I was within the government, even having access to government-generated data, the data they collected, even on us, the ones we have in Takwimu House, even getting them at times became a bit of a challenge. And now we are talking about how we can get this massive data telecommunication companies in Tanzania, for instance, have access to. This massive data banks in Tanzania, for instance, have. How do we get this data? How do we get transaction data, because they can augment the traditional data sources like census and household surveys to provide a rich base for insight generation. I think as far as data sharing is concerned, the pace and progress is really low in most African countries. Here in the US, what the government does is that they have specific data sharing agreements with these private sector organizations. And the data sharing agreement is a core component of you getting your private sector organization established here. And so you are freely sharing data. Of course, there are always issues around ethics, privacy, for instance. But then those are concerns that will require public-private partnerships to address. So one thing that we have done, which like World Bank, one thing World Bank did very early with the Tanzanian government, I remember in my first year, was that we drafted a data sharing agreement with the Takwimu House. And we said, we want to have access to your data, and these are the insights we'll be using the data to produce. And that has worked very well. So when census was collected, when we carried out the census in 2022, the bank was able to have access to 3 months, 10% of the data within some few months. And we use those for some internal insights. And we've waited till the full data is available now before we are publishing. So African countries should begin to make data sharing part of the establishment requirements for these foreign organizations that come to establish in the country and collect massive data from the citizens, because this citizen generated data, that is where the insight is lying. That's why we need the insight we want to make the progress we want to make with policy making. So that's my response to you.
Thank you so much, Francis. So if there is any question, I've already received a question here. And it says, like, considering that Africa is still not at the forefront of AI, particularly regarding investment in computing infrastructure, could regulating AI 2L hold Africa back even further, or might it have some positive effects? So it's like, when we regulate AI and we don't have much investment, for instance, in issues like computation infrastructures, is that going to hold us back, or is going to have positive impact? That's the first question, actually.
No, I think it's going to hold us back massively. We've already been held back from the economic front. We've already been held back on engineering front. Politically we've been held back. I think with the rate at which AI is being used there are a lot of concerns about even AI replacing a lot of jobs globally. And we've seen a lot of firms cutting down on or downsizing their HR because of the influx of artificial intelligence. I think for Africa, even if you look at the job profile of the continent, not incorporating this AI and its application in our curriculum very early will be damaging. Will be damaging to the future of the continent. So I strongly believe that from what I have seen from the field, if we do not at least try to understand how we can leverage this wave for our development, we are going to wake up in 5 years' time, and then we realize that development partners will not be interested in giving us money to go and collect data from the field, because they want us to use some data stored in some AI platform. We are going to realize that we will not be able to have our brothers and sisters and our children come and study in the US, because the courses that are in the US are all being administered with artificial intelligence technologies. And so the earlier we rise up, and this is why I'm proposing that just like how the regional bodies, the sub-regional bodies are leading development and harmonization efforts in other domains like climate change. A lot of work has been going on in harmonizing climate change initiatives in the region. A lot of work has been going on computational processes in the region. We should rise up quickly and begin to come up with some of these sub-regional initiatives to look at the whole AI infrastructure, to look at the whole AI system comprehensively, and begin to educate the youth, encouraging the youth to take up courses, to take up postgraduate degrees, to take up research opportunities in AI, so that we can have a talent pool ready to collaborate with development partners to continue advancing the development of the continent. If we sleep behind, we'll wake up and be regretting it. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Francis. So if there is any other question, like the elastic question, let me say. So online from Nelson Mandela, Souza, and the others. Yeah, so there is a question again here.
Does he have any opportunity for Africa, given the current trend that one day maybe you will be one of the biggest players in IO?
Yeah, so the question is, are you optimistic that Africa in some days to come is going to be a big player, let's say, in the AI space, given the current state? Is there any hope like some days we're going to be among the players who come with breakthroughs in AI? Yeah, specifically either in research or provided computation.
Okay, so because of my experience working with governments, not only in Africa, but here as well, because of my experience working with governments, Ruben, I have to say that government controls the destiny of development trajectories for countries. So if you take Tanzania, for instance, even though there is a lot of development from the private sector, even though there is a lot of innovation from the private sector, we are here talking about AI, but there are a lot of institutional innovations, going on in Africa. But if we have to really, really improve as a continent, the governments must take up these initiatives, because if governments say that they want to introduce maybe an undergraduate degree in AI, or they want to introduce a master's program in machine learning, for instance, it becomes easy to implement because government has access to all these resources from development partners, that it becomes so easy once government leads the conversation. So the fact that the private sector is the one leading the AI innovations, whereas government is sort of watching and just watching from behind, it leaves me worried. But I have to say, like I mentioned, countries like South Africa, even Tanzania, and also Kenya, I see a lot of efforts to partner with organizations like OpenAI. Recently, OpenAI had a role for specifically focused on African countries, where they were hiring a consultant, for instance, to lead their efforts with partnering with governments in Africa to see how Africa can be incorporated within the whole AI ecosystem. So development takes time. These innovations take time. So from where I am sitting and from what I'm seeing, I would say if we keep up this pace, if we keep up the pace of having people like you, Ruben, having people like you encouraging your colleagues, identifying talents and bringing them to the fore, and trying to look for opportunities to keep the conferences like this happening, not only in Tanzania, but across the region, you eventually begin to create the awareness required within government. Government is very important. I'm highlighting the role of government because private sector organizations are leading efforts. World Bank, for instance, in Tanzania, we already have our own chat GPT that we use to produce or to at least generate insights that we need. We want governments to begin to lead efforts like this. On campus here at the University of Maryland, where I'm taking my PhD, there is an undergraduate program for data science where you can have specializations in artificial intelligence broadly, where you can have specializations in machine learning, where you can take that to master's level and take that to the PhD level. I know that in the University of Dar es Salaam, for instance, you could tailor your master's program and your PhD program to focus on artificial intelligence and machine learning. But I would want to see more concerted efforts where we have specific departments and human resource deployed specifically to improve the AI infrastructure on the continent. And if we can do that, which I think governments are warming up to, I would say that we are on the right path. We just need to keep up the momentum. Over to you, Raymond.
Thank you so much, Francis. That was very insightful. So I think there is no any other question. Yeah, so I appreciate your time, Francis. Thank you so much for joining us. I think we'll keep in touch. So if there is any other thing maybe audience would want to know from you, I'll just reach out and then we'll see how we can address it. For now, I really appreciate. Thank you so much. And please join us next time when we need you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruben. I am very glad, like I stated, that you reach out to me to join this effort. I'm also very proud of you and your team for pulling something like this off. It's not easy. These are the efforts that will eventually begin to create the awareness that we need and then create the innovations that we are looking for. So reach out to me anytime, and I'm happy that in future sessions, I can bring some of my colleagues from the university, some of my colleagues from the World Bank and the developed countries, so they can share more practical insights on how some of these technologies can be tailored for our continent. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Francis, and thank you for the privilege to bring your colleagues to join us next time. So we appreciate. Thank you so much. Okay.
Nice. I will see you. Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so for the online team, we appreciate for you joining us for the 3 days. So if there is any highlight you want to share, because we're going to cross the online streaming here, so we'll need to hear from you a bit of your experience and maybe if your expectations were met, so that then we're going to end up there. We'll just meet next time. So welcome.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
Yeah, so from Mandela here, we don't have a lot to say rather than we appreciate the guys here saying this was an amazing event. They have learned a lot. And, you know, technology is always growing, changing. So it is always good to see what others are doing and know what you can do also to improve or do a similar job in a different approach. So we much appreciate you guys to have us online. We wish we could all be there with you guys, but this was an amazing event nonetheless. And we hope that you will also include us next time.
Yeah.
Always welcome here at Mandela in Arusha.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think I'll be there sometime to come. Thank you so much for your efforts to make this happen. I know it wasn't easy, but finally we made it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we appreciate.
Yeah, thank you.